Hi, you guys. This is Misty with the Oracle Evolution. Welcome back. Today, we are continuing our Tarot Deep Dive series with episode 5, The Emperor. Now, I already know what you're thinking. Oh, yeah, the Emperor. That structure, rules, control. And yes, that is part of it. But if you simply stop there, you're missing the real message. Because this card, it's not just about being in charge. It's about the way power is used or even misused. It's the battle between protection and domination. It's the father wound, the pressure to perform, the trap of over responsibility, and the shadow of systems that tell you who you have to be before you even figure out who you want to be. So if you've ever felt like you were carrying too much, like you had to hold it all together, like control became your comfort zone, this one is going to hit home. And as always, we're breaking it down through the 40 real life themes I teach in every single episode. So you'll see how the Emperor shows up in your money, your relationships, your career, your identity, and the systems that you have been programmed to operate in, and maybe finally break free from. So get your journal, get your tea, and get ready to take notes, because this episode is full of hidden truths that most readers never talk about. But before we get started, make sure that you're subscribed, so hit that bell for notifications. And if you want early access to future episodes plus exclusive member content, go ahead and become a channel member now at any level. All right, let's get into it. Starting off with general everyday life. The Emperor in your everyday life is where order meets over functioning. Upright, this is you stepping into a leadership role. It's, I've got this. You're the one others rely on. You're setting the tone, taking care of business, and creating order where there was chaos. But the hidden side, you've become so responsible that no one checks on you. You've convinced everyone that you don't need help. And now you're trapped in that image of high functioning, high pressure, but deeply unsupported. Reversed, the Emperor is burnout. You're micromanaging life. You're obsessing over control because you don't feel safe unless you're running the show. You might be the boss, but emotionally, you're in survival mode. And sometimes this card is telling you the thing you think is structure is actually a prison that you built to feel safe. So let's jump into love and relationships, starting with singles. Upright. The Emperor shows up when you're attracting someone stable, accomplished, and protective. It can be a masculine energy who is mature, grounded, and ready to build something solid. But here's the truth that doesn't get talked about. The Emperor can also be emotionally unavailable. He is so focused on duty, image, and control, not necessarily vulnerability. So yes, he'll text you back, but will he let you in? That's another story. And reversed, this is the emotionally guarded type who treats relationships like business deals, very strategic, very controlled. He'll love you as long as it doesn't cost him his power. And if you're attracting this pattern repeatedly, the Emperor is showing you your own fear of emotional risk. Now, let's look at this Emperor in commitment and marriages. Upright, this is a partner who provides, who protects, who shows up. But the shadow, it can feel like you're in a parent-child dynamic. One person is controlling the relationship while the other person is being managed. Reversed, the Emperor becomes overbearing. You may feel suffocated, unheard, or like you're constantly being judged. Or you might be the one over controlling because deep down, you don't trust your partner to handle things right. In toxic relationships, upright, the Emperor is the mask. very charming, strong, capable, but it hides emotional manipulation, dominance, and control through logic. This is the partner who never yells, but still manages to make you feel like everything is your fault. And reversed, it's full of authoritarianism, controlling, cold, and emotionally withholding. They punish through silence, through structure, and through power plays. And you don't even realize how much of yourself you're suppressing simply to keep the peace. When it comes to breakups and reconciliation, the Emperor in a breakup shows up when someone is trying to maintain power after the ending. Upright, it might mean that they're holding strong boundaries, but reversed, they're weaponizing distance and silence. It also shows when you need to step into your power and stop playing emotional chess just to keep someone around. Now, karmic relationships. This is the energy of learning how to stop submitting to dominance disguised as love. Upright, it's the karmic lesson of learning to lead yourself. Reversed, it is the repeated cycle of attracting emotionally rigid or domineering partners until you remember you're not here to be ruled. Jumping into money and finances. Upright, the Emperor is long-term wealth, strategy, and discipline. Not quick wins, real systems. This is budgeting, business acumen, and playing the long game. Now, the shadow, you might be doing everything right financially and still feel trapped. Why? Because you've sacrificed joy, spontaneity, and trust in your own abundance for control. And reversed, this is scarcity masked as discipline. This is hoarding, a fear of loss, believing that the only way to earn money is through suffering. You're operating from survival, not sovereignty. The Emperor reversed will show up when your entire identity is tied to how much you earn or provide, when money is no longer a tool, but your worth. In your career, the Emperor upright is leadership, success through structure, and clear goals. It can represent a boss, a mentor, or a system that helps you to climb the ladder. But don't miss the hidden dynamic. The Emperor can also represent toxic work environments masked as tradition. It's the corporate structure that rewards burnout, the company that values loyalty over well-being. Reversed, this is where control issues dominate your job. You feel boxed in. Either someone is abusing their authority or you're the one stuck in perfectionism, trying to control every single detail. This card asks, are you working to build a legacy or just building someone else's empire? Jumping into business and entrepreneurship, upright, this is the business owner who has systems, leadership, and a vision. The Emperor is the blueprint energy, scaling, protecting, and sustaining the business. But here's the truth that most people won't say. The Emperor can also represent the business that you built on fear, the hustle culture that you swallowed, the brand voice you created to sound professional, even though it doesn't even really feel like you. And reversed, it is imposter syndrome in disguise. You're micromanaging your team, you're doubting your offers, or you're clinging to rigid strategies that worked before in the past, but they don't even serve you now. The Emperor reversed asks, are you leading your business or is it leading you? Now, friendships and social circles. Upright, the Emperor brings mature, stable friendships, the people you can count on, the ones who show up in emergencies, friends who help you strategize, organize, and stay grounded. But the overlooked truth is that sometimes these friends are based on function, not feeling. You're the planner, you're the fixer, you're the rock, but who sees you? Reversed, it is control and power dynamics. These are friends who guilt you, manage you, or expect way too much from you. It can also reveal that you're being too rigid, only accepting friendships that fit your version of safe instead of real solid connections. Now, when the Emperor shows up in your family readings, it brings up power roles, family hierarchy, and legacy patterns. Upright, it represents the provider, the one everyone depends on. It can be a strong father figure or the person who has taken on that role, regardless of gender. It's about structure, protection, and providing stability in the home. But here's what most people miss. Sometimes you're playing the Emperor in your family because no one else would. You were forced to grow up way too soon, to lead, to carry the weight of responsibility while others avoided it. And reversed, the Emperor speaks to control-based parenting, generational power struggles, or emotional suppression passed down as discipline. It can also show up when you've inherited the emotional residue of authoritarian energy, being raised in a house where fear ruled over freedom. This card asks, are you leading your family from love or from fear of what will happen if you don't hold it all together? Now, the Emperor's role in spiritual awakenings is rarely talked about, but it is quite vital. Upright, it is the moment that you realize spiritual growth requires discipline, not rigidity, but accountability. You're no longer jumping from one path to the next. You're setting spiritual structure. You're creating practices, and you're making your evolution a priority, not a hobby. But here's the shadow side of that. Spiritual awakening often activates a false emperor within. You might start taking on beliefs that are rooted in control, using spiritual logic to dominate, to judge, or to feel superior. In reversed, the Emperor warns of spiritual systems that replicate the very oppression you were trying to escape. Gurus that demand loyalty, groups that dictate how enlightenment should look. It's trading one power structure for another and calling it growth. This card asks, is your spiritual path freeing you, or are you becoming your own spiritual warden? Moving on to self-care and personal growth. Now, when it comes to self-care and development, the Emperor upright is you taking ownership. You're not waiting to be rescued. You're creating your own healing plan. You've decided to lead yourself out of survival. This is the personal power of building emotional structure, healthy routines, boundaries, and priorities. But the hidden trap, you start treating your healing like a checklist. Personal growth becomes performance. You're doing the work, but avoiding the deeper feelings underneath. And reversed, the Emperor is emotional avoidance disguised as discipline. You've got systems, you've got plans, you've got goals, but no softness. You're overcorrecting. You won't let yourself rest, receive, or feel because it makes you feel out of control. The Emperor here reminds you that growth without self-compassion is just self-punishment in disguise. Okay, health and wellness. With physical health, upright, the Emperor supports structured health routines. This is exercise, discipline, eating well, sticking to the plan. It can show progress from consistency and taking control of your body's needs. But the overlooked truth, you might be obsessed with control, counting everything, every calorie, pushing yourself, ignoring your body's signals because rest feels weak. The Emperor can represent the perfectionist who won't stop grinding even when the body is begging for a pause, for a break. Reversed, this is when the body rebels. This is burnout, hormonal imbalances, chronic tension, or it could be the opposite, which is neglect. You've lost control, you're disorganized, you're overwhelmed, ignoring your needs and calling it surrender. The Emperor reversed is asking, are you leading your body or avoiding responsibility for it? Now, when it comes to your mental and emotional health, upright, this is a very strong mindset energy. This is therapy, coaching, doing the deep internal work. You're building emotional structure. You're learning how to regulate, how to lead yourself through emotional storms instead of being overtaken by them. But don't miss the shadow side of this. Sometimes you become so focused on fixing yourself that you stop feeling yourself. You analyze your emotions instead of just processing them. You manage your mental health like a task list. And reversed, it is emotional control gone wrong. This is suppression, rigidity, or denial. You're trying to stay strong for everyone else while your mind is unraveling in silence. So the Emperor is one of the most important energies in spiritual warfare because it's not just about defending against attacks. It is also about establishing order in your spiritual world. Upright, this card is your spiritual command center. These are your boundaries, authority, the energy that says, not in my house, not in my energy, not today. You've taken your seat at the throne. You're not just protected, you are the protection. But the hidden meaning, you may be overly focused on defense. You're obsessed with enemies, with psychic threats and energetic attacks, not realizing that fear itself has become your controller. And reversed, this card screams energetic vulnerability. You're trying to act strong, but your field is wide open. You're drained, manipulated, or spiritually overpowered and pretending that it's all under control. The Emperor reversed reminds you that spiritual protection starts with owning your power, not performing strength that you don't yet believe in. Now, upright, the Emperor in shadow work is the moment that you meet the part of you that had to grow up way too fast. It's the protector part of your inner child, the one who decided if no one else is going to take care of me, I'll do it myself. This is where you became the parent, the structure, the boss. It was necessary, but it came with a cost. You lost that softness. You lost trust. You lost the ability to just rest, and you started equating love with duty. Reversed, the Emperor is the inner child still operating from trauma. You micromanage because you never felt safe. You dominate conversations because no one ever listened to you. You build walls because no one ever protected you. The shadow work here isn't about breaking down the Emperor. It's about giving your inner child permission to not be the boss of survival anymore. Moving on to legal matters, court cases, and contracts. Now, when the Emperor shows up around legal matters upright, this is the card of structure, order, and systems of authority. It can represent judges, law enforcement, attorneys, or even a stern but fair outcome. It often means that the law is being upheld, rules are being enforced, and order is being restored. But here's the lesser known angle. The Emperor can also show that someone is using the law to their advantage. It's not always about fairness. Sometimes it's about who has the most control, who has the best legal team, or even the strongest paperwork. Upright, it can reflect well-written contracts or someone strategically positioning themselves in court. And reversed, the Emperor becomes a red flag. It can point to abuse of authority, legal manipulation, unfair rulings, or someone trying to dominate the system. You might be going up against a controlling figure in a courtroom or being pressured into a legal agreement where power is being used against you. This is not just about justice, it is about control disguised as order. Moving into criminal investigations and true crime energy. In crime readings, the Emperor upright often represents law enforcement, the government, or a male authority figure involved in the investigation. It can symbolize a father, a boss, or a man in power who either helps or controls the outcome. This card is about structure, but also about someone enforcing their rules, even if they're not so ethical. The hidden meaning, the Emperor might be covering something up. In some cases, this card shows up as the mastermind, the one pulling strings behind the scenes. It can mean that there is an abuse of power happening at a level that others aren't seeing. And reversed, it's more intense. This could indicate a corrupt official, a cover-up, or someone abusing their position to control witnesses, to twist facts, or to silence others. It might also suggest that the perpetrator is someone who thrives on power and domination, especially over other people's bodies, choices, or safety. So watch out for ego-driven motivations hiding behind a badge or a title. The Emperor in karmic cycles is about learning how to hold or challenge authority. Upright, it represents lessons about discipline, boundaries, accountability, and leadership. It shows up when you're being called to rise, to take charge of your life, and to stop giving your power away. But here's the twist. Sometimes the Emperor appears when you're repeating a karmic loop with an authority figure, especially one connected to a father wound, a strict upbringing, or a lifetime of seeking validation from dominant personalities. The card reminds you that you don't have to keep obeying outdated rules just to feel safe. And reversed, it shows the karmic lesson is being ignored. You're stuck in cycles of powerlessness, rebellion without purpose, or trying to control everything because deep down, you're afraid of being vulnerable. Until you face the pattern, it keeps repeating, whether through toxic bosses, controlling partners, or even your own rigid expectations of yourself. Now, jumping into power dynamics, control, and manipulation. This is the Emperor's main domain. Upright, this card is about taking back control, but in a healthy way. It's you stepping into leadership, asserting your boundaries, and setting the tone for how people treat you. When it shows up, you're being called to own your space and stand firm. But here's the undercurrent. It can also show up where you're using control to avoid emotion. Are you micromanaging everyone because you're scared of disappointment? Are you dominating conversations and situations or relationships because vulnerability feels a little unsafe? Reversed, the Emperor is a warning. Someone in your life is trying to dominate you, or you're falling into manipulation tactics, either subtle or overt. Power is being used as a weapon, and if you're not careful, you'll either submit to it or become the one misusing it. This is where you need to check your motives, not just your actions. Okay, let's move into energy blockages, delays, and stagnation. So when you see the Emperor in a reading about delays or stagnation, upright, it usually means that structure is needed or you're stuck in too much structure. Sometimes you're not blocked because the energy isn't moving. You're blocked because you're trying to control every little step, and that control is stopping the flow. The hidden message here is that discipline is important, but obsession with control becomes a prison. The Emperor tells you to organize and focus, but if you're frozen in fear of failure or waiting for perfect conditions, you're not actually in control. You're avoiding growth. Reversed, the Emperor is full on rigidity. You've built walls so high that nothing can move. It's the energy of being stuck in a pattern of control, fear, or denial. You want things to shift, but you won't let go. Spirit is asking you to release the death grip on your plan, or you'll stay stuck in energetic quicksand. So, fame, public image, and influence. In the world of visibility and leadership, the Emperor upright can mean that you're stepping into public authority. People see you as powerful, put together, and disciplined. You're giving "I'm the one in charge" energy, and it's magnetic. It's about building a reputation that commands respect. But underneath that, there may be pressure to maintain the image even when things get a little heavy. This card can reflect curated power, especially when you feel like you have to hold it together for others, even when you're struggling behind the scenes. And reversed, the Emperor card can mean that your public image is cracking or you're trying too hard to control how you're being perceived. Maybe you're playing a role instead of just being real, or maybe someone is undermining your image to take your place. This can also show up when you've tied your worth to your reputation and now it feels like a performance that you can't stop. So, government, politics, and global systems. The Emperor is the most obvious card when it comes to authority structures. So, when it shows up in a political or government context upright, it represents leadership, systems, structure, law, and order. It may point to the head of a state, a political body, or an institutional power being exercised with strength and clarity. But here's the deeper layer. Just because someone has power, that doesn't mean that they're using it fairly. So upright, this card can still reflect top-down enforcement, patriarchal systems, and leadership that expects obedience rather than collaboration. And sometimes it represents outdated systems still trying to control modern realities. Now, reversed, the Emperor is straight up political dysfunction. This is power abused by the state, corruption hidden behind rules, and policies that protect the powerful at the expense of the vulnerable. It may represent tyrannical leadership, systemic injustice, or collective frustration with oppressive laws. Spirit may be pointing you toward activism, sovereignty, or even pulling your energy back from systems that don't serve you. Community and social impact. Upright, the Emperor in community settings shows up as the one who leads the pack. This is someone taking responsibility, organizing the chaos, stepping up as a mentor, a founder, or a protector of the collective. It's the energy of building systems that work for more than just you. It's leadership with legacy in mind. But the lesser known meaning would be that sometimes the Emperor appears when you're overly focused on saving or managing community instead of just letting people take ownership of their own roles and their own lives. You might be overstepping or forgetting that leadership isn't about control. It's about structure with the space for others to grow. Reversed, this card can reveal hierarchy issues within the community. Someone may be hoarding power, controlling the narrative, or refusing to make space for others to contribute. It can also show that a group you're part of is more about dominance than true collective growth. So be mindful of where you feel silenced or where you might be silencing others in the name of order. Now, if this is helping you connect the dots in a deeper way, hit that like button, you guys, and let YouTube know that this series is worth pushing out to others who need it too. And if you want to be the first in line for every new episode, or you're ready to go further with the work, become a member at any level. You'll get early access to each deep dive episode before it goes public, plus exclusive tools and bonus content designed to level up your readings. Membership is where we take it from guidance to mastery. So anyways, let's keep going. Jumping right on into jealousy, envy, and rivalries. When the Emperor shows up in readings about envy or competition upright, it often means that you're being watched or judged for your power, your leadership, or your ability to move without asking for permission. Some people aren't mad that you have authority. They're actually just mad that they don't. What most people miss is that the Emperor draws envy because of what he represents: confidence, control, and the ability to stand alone. If this card shows up, you may have triggered someone else's insecurity simply by existing in your power. Reversed, the rivalry turns toxic. This might be someone trying to undermine you, compete with you for no reason, or exert power over you out of sheer jealousy. It could also be a warning that you're falling into comparison energy, measuring your progress against someone else's version of success. That is not power, that is projection, and it's time for you to get back in alignment. Timing, fate, and predictive indicators. In readings about timing, the Emperor upright brings a sense of right place, right time, but with discipline. This isn't spontaneous energy, you guys. This is a sign that something needs to be planned, structured, or aligned before it can really unfold. Think appointments, contracts, rollouts, or timelines that depend on preparation. But what's often missed is that the Emperor may also indicate divine timing that requires you to step into leadership first. It's not about waiting for the right moment. It's about becoming the version of you that can handle what's coming. The door opens when you show that you can hold it. And reversed, this card can mean things are being delayed due to control issues. Either you're trying to force something that is not ready, or you're blocking your own blessings by refusing to take charge of your schedule, your habits, or your long-term vision. Spirit might be just telling you the moment isn't delayed, you are. The Emperor in dream interpretations is a fascinating card. Upright, he can represent a dominant figure in your life, father, boss, masculine protector, or your own inner authority trying to come through. You may dream of order, buildings, strict teachers, or rules, symbolizing your need for structure or your relationship to authority. The hidden message here is that the dream might be showing you where you have internalized control. You're dreaming of rules because you feel boxed in. You're dreaming of judgment because you're judging yourself. And reversed, the dream may be a warning. You could be experiencing subconscious rebellion, feeling trapped, silenced, or over-controlled in your waking life. The dream world becomes a space where your soul is trying to shake loose from expectations and reclaim your freedom. So pay attention to who holds the power in the dream. That's who or what you're really struggling with. Now, upright, the Emperor is a manifestation master, but not because he's magical, because he's consistent. This card shows up when you're being asked to get serious about your goals, to stop winging it, and create a system that makes your vision sustainable. This isn't manifesting from vibes, it is manifesting from execution. What people miss is that structure is spiritual. Your routines, your boundaries, your discipline, those are the spells. The Emperor says, if you want it, act like it, build it, protect it, lead it. And reversed, the warning is clear. You may be sabotaging your own manifestations because you're refusing to get organized. You're dreaming without anchoring. You're planning without acting, or you're trying to force an outcome instead of just aligning with it. This card reversed is the reminder that power without structure dissolves into chaos. And when the Emperor shows up around spiritual contracts or ancestral work, upright, he represents the protector role passed through bloodlines. He can point to inherited roles, being the one in your family who stabilizes, provides, or enforces order, even if no one actually handed you a rule book. The hidden meaning here is that you might be carrying contracts that you never agreed to consciously. Being the strong one may have started as an act of survival, but it became your unspoken job. You were conditioned to hold it all together, even at the cost of your own peace. Reversed, the Emperor signals it's time to break the pattern. You're no longer required to bear the burdens of past generations. The reversal says you don't have to lead their way. Your strength now comes from choosing sovereignty, not repeating sacrifice. Destiny versus free will. Upright, the Emperor in Destiny versus free will questions shows that much of your path is within your control, but you have to step up. Spirit isn't going to push you. The throne is empty until you claim it. The not so obvious layer is that sometimes destiny gives you raw materials, such as your talents and your opportunities, but free will is how you shape them into legacy. Upright, the Emperor says the framework is in place. What you build inside it is your responsibility. Reversed, this card can reveal two traps. Either you're over controlling, trying to force fate into your idea of what should happen, or you're abdicating power, waiting for destiny to do what only action can accomplish. In both cases, you're misusing the power that you already have. Corruption, deception, and hidden enemies. When the Emperor shows up in these themes, upright, it points to visible authority figures. You can usually identify the ones in control. You're not dealing with secret enemies. You're dealing with people who have no shame about their position. The subtle layer here, upright, this card can also warn that the enemy isn't external, it is internalized corruption. Are you compromising your values to stay in power? Are you turning a blind eye to something that you know isn't right? Now, reversed, the Emperor is a screaming red flag for hidden corruption. This is abuse of authority, sabotage from someone that you trusted, manipulation through rules and loopholes. This is someone pretending to lead, but really seeking control over you or over the situation. It's a call to stop giving people unearned authority over your choices. Collective energy and global shifts. In collective readings, the Emperor upright often signals large-scale structural shifts, new governments, changes in laws, leadership transitions, or major movements toward order after chaos. It represents the tightening of systems after periods of instability. What is not always so obvious in the upright, the Emperor can represent collective hunger for strong leadership. Sometimes healthy, sometimes desperate. People want certainty after disruption, but that desire can be manipulated if you're not careful. Now, reversed, the Emperor is a major warning. This is power grabs masked as protection, authoritarian regimens rising under the guise of safety, collective fear leading people to give up freedoms without realizing it. It's a call to think critically and not just surrender your sovereignty just because you're tired of chaos. Endings, closure, and transformation cycles. When the Emperor appears around endings, upright, it usually marks a necessary structural collapse. It's the ending of a leadership role, a crumbling of outdated rules, or a release of control that no longer serves you. It is Spirit saying you built it and now it's time to tear it down or rebuild it stronger. The hidden truth, upright, this card often shows up when you've outgrown the empire that you once built. You're no longer the same leader. You need a new structure to hold the version of you that is emerging. And reversed, the Emperor reflects resistance to closure, holding on to power too tightly, refusing to evolve a system or step aside when it's time. You're gripping old ways because you're scared of what happens when the old control ends. Spirit's message is that true authority comes from flexibility, not rigidity. Red flags, warnings, and divine protection. The Emperor upright shows up as divine protection through structure. You may be divinely redirected towards routines, contracts, decisions, or leadership that protect your future, even if it feels restrictive right now. Most people miss this. Boundaries are spiritual armor. Structure is protection in motion. And upright, Spirit may be building a wall around you, not to imprison you, but to shield you from things that you're not ready for yet. Reversed, the Emperor screams that a red flag is waving and you're ignoring it. Someone is abusing authority. You're sacrificing your power to stay in line, or you're pretending a situation is stable when it is rotten underneath. Divine protection might feel like rejection right now, but trust that it is spirit pulling you out of a trap that you can't see yet. Psychic gifts and activation. When the Emperor shows up around psychic gifts upright, it's about taking your intuition seriously, not as a party trick, but as a skill set that you're responsible for. This is about discipline in your spiritual practice. These are your daily rituals, protective routines, and making sure that you're not just open, but prepared. The part most people overlook with this card is that it says your gift is only as strong as your ability to direct it. You can have clear intuition, but if your life is chaotic or scattered and ungrounded, you won't hear it clearly. The Emperor brings order to your downloads. And reversed, the Emperor warns that your gifts may be mismanaged, unmanaged, or even being used recklessly. Maybe you're letting your intuition run wild without discernment. Maybe you're letting your ego or spiritual superiority take over, or you're doubting your ability and handing your power away to others who claim they know more. This is a call to anchor your intuition in structure, not in superstition. Personal and professional boundaries. Upright, the Emperor is the definition of a boundary boss. This is the card that says, here's the line, respect it. It represents someone who has made peace with the fact that not everyone will like them and doesn't lose sleep over it. The less obvious meaning of this card is that boundaries are a form of love and leadership. Whether you're protecting your time, your energy, or your business, the Emperor reminds you that real power includes knowing when to say no, even when it's uncomfortable. Reverse, this card can mean that your boundaries are collapsing. You're letting people take too much, expect too much, or you're letting guilt keep you from enforcing limits. Alternatively, it could be showing you where you're overstepping, micromanaging others, controlling what isn't yours to control, or turning boundaries into walls. Spiritual tests and triggers. The Emperor doesn't just pass spiritual tests, he is the test. Upright, he shows up when you're being asked to lead, to hold steady, or to act with integrity, even when it's hard. It's the moment that you're being tested on whether you've really grown or you're still just playing the same game with a new mask. The hidden meaning here, the test isn't always loud. Sometimes it is in the quiet choice to let someone go. Sometimes it is how you carry yourself when no one is watching. The Emperor says your reaction reveals your rank. And reversed, this is the failure of the test. Maybe you let pride take over. Maybe you crumbled under pressure, you lashed out, or reverted to the old habits. It's a reminder that authority without self-control is just ego wearing a crown. Your role in other people's lessons. The Emperor often shows up to remind you that you are the lesson. Upright, this means your presence in someone's life is pushing them to grow, whether that is through mentorship, holding them accountable, or being a mirror for what they're avoiding. What is a little less known is that sometimes you're the person others resent because you represent structure. You might trigger their avoidance patterns, their father wounds, their rejection of authority, but that doesn't mean that you're doing something wrong. Reversed, it shows you that you might be overstepping that role. You're trying to force people to learn, controlling their growth, or making their healing about your validation. Or maybe you're being used as someone's scapegoat or fallback, stuck in a dynamic that keeps you from evolving. Personal power and self-accountability. Now, this is where the Emperor thrives. Upright, he says, own your choices. Take the reins. No more waiting to be saved, chosen, or discovered. This is about stepping fully into your own leadership, whether that is in your life, your business, or your spiritual path. But here's the twist that most don't realize. Real power isn't about being the loudest voice in the room. It is about consistency. It is about quiet confidence, knowing that you can trust yourself even if no one else gets it yet. And reversed, it's power gone sideways. You're either giving your authority away, you're blaming others, or abusing the position that you're in. And it's time to check your energy. Are you leading or just reacting? Are you empowering or overpowering? Unexpected events and divine detours. Upright, the Emperor brings you the strength to handle curveballs without unraveling. You may not have planned the detour, but this card says that you can navigate it and maybe even build something better than what you initially imagined. The hidden message here: divine detours are a test of your infrastructure. If your life is built on a solid foundation, the shift will not break you. It will simply reroute you. Reversed, this card can signal a meltdown under pressure. You didn't expect the change, and you're either trying to control what can't be controlled or you're abandoning ship completely. But either way, the Emperor reversed is a reminder that leadership isn't just about plans, it's about flexibility under fire. When the Emperor steps into this space, it is a wake-up call. Upright, he asks, who's in control here? Your willpower or your cravings? This isn't just about substances. It's about being addicted to chaos, to validation, to needing someone else to anchor your emotions. And the hidden message that most people overlook is that the Emperor doesn't fall apart just because someone else pulls away. He is grounded. And if you're spiraling because someone ghosted you, pulled back, or triggered your abandonment wound, that is the red flag. The Emperor upright teaches emotional regulation even when things don't go your way. And reversed, this card is a straight up warning. Your emotions are running the show. You might be over attached to someone's presence. You might be obsessing over a connection or using someone as a crutch or trying to control a situation through manipulation. It is not love. It's survival mode dressed up as romance, and it's time to take your power back. Reputation, legacy, and how you'll be remembered. This is where the Emperor shines the brightest. Upright, this card speaks to your long game. It's not just about how people see you today. It's about the mark that you're leaving behind. It is your legacy, your leadership, your integrity. This is what others will say about you when you're no longer in the room. Now, the less obvious part of this card is that the Emperor is asking, are you building your reputation on substance or on performance? Are you showing up with consistency and character or just collecting praise without foundation? Reversed, this card is about image distortion. Maybe you've built something, but it's based on fear, control, or ego. Maybe your legacy is in danger because of one reckless choice, or maybe you're worried so much about being liked that you've stopped being real. It's time to get honest about the story that your actions are telling. Survival mode versus creation mode. The Emperor is a creation card, but only when he's upright. In his healthy state, he is building something stable, something that lasts. He's not rushing or reacting. He's planning. He's calculating. He is executing with strategy. But most people miss this. The Emperor can also live in survival mode. That's when he's overworking, over-controlling, or pushing through burnout with no rest in sight. You're getting things done, but at what cost? Reversed, this card shows that you're stuck in the grind. You're doing everything out of fear of failure, of scarcity, of not being respected or taken seriously. And that fear is bleeding into every move you make. If your actions are based on what if I lose it all, then you're not creating, you're clinging, and it's time to reset. illusion, fantasy, and escapism. Finally, the Emperor in this space is about grounding illusions. Upright, he demands truth. He doesn't play pretend. If something isn't working, he calls it out. If you're hiding behind a fantasy about a person, a business, a path, a career, he's the one pulling you back down to earth and saying, let's get real. The subtle warning here is that just because you want something to be true, that doesn't make it real. The Emperor upright asks, are you building from truth or from delusion? And reversed, this card shows flat out denial. Maybe you're ignoring the reality of a relationship, pretending that your finances are fine, or clinging to a dream that is costing you more than what it's worth. You're not just escaping, you're abandoning reality. And the Emperor reversed will not let that slide for long. He'll bring the consequences fast and hard until you course correct. Whew, okay. The Emperor is not soft energy, but he is solid. If the Empress nurtures, the Emperor secures. If the High Priestess guides, the Emperor enforces. He is the structure that holds the magic in place. He's the lesson that reminds you that power without discipline crumbles. Ambition without foundation fails. So what did this card reveal for you? Where are you leading like a boss? And where are you still dodging the responsibility that leadership requires? Drop a comment below and tell me which life theme hit you the hardest in this episode. And more importantly, what are you going to do with it? If this episode gave you clarity, insight, or a shift in perspective, hit that like button, subscribe to the Oracle Evolution, and ring the bell so you never miss what's next. And if you're ready for early access to the next episode, exclusive member-only resources, and behind-the-scenes wisdom to deepen your tarot journey, become a member today. All levels unlock the next deep dive early. And trust me, you don't want to wait for what's coming next, because next up is the Hierophant. And we're not just talking tradition, we're talking programming, patterns, systems of belief, and what it really means to break free. I'll see you in episode 6.